Most kids will be back in the classroom come September after the Ontario government has revealed their plan for a safe return to school in the fall.
We're going to get our kids back to school in a way that looks and feels as much as it used to. 5 days a week, 5 hours of instruction a day with lunch and breaks in between.
2 million students have been out of the classroom since early March when schools were forced to close due to the growing COVID-19 global health pandemic. Ontario, which was the first province in Canada to mandate the closure of schools, had plans for it to be a temporary measure with the goal of resuming in-class learning by the beginning of May. But as COVID-19 cases continued to rise in most parts of the province, the Ford government announced online learning would continue until the end of June. Now, the start of a new school year is less than 5 weeks away, and the Premier says a full return to the classroom for most is important for not only students, but also their parents.
We need to weigh the risks of COVID-19 against the harm of school closures. We need to consider the toll it's taking on the physical and mental health and personal development of our kids. We know isolation has been extremely hard on them, not being able to see or play with their friends.
Enhanced cleaning measures will be in place on school buses and in classrooms, with teachers receiving additional health and safety training. The Ontario government is investing over $300 million to help schools hire 900 new custodians to help with enhanced cleaning and to pay for required supplies, which will help keep teachers and students safe. The government is also mandating masks for students from grades 4 to 12. While it's not mandatory for students from kindergarten up to grade 3, it's still highly recommended.
It will include important public health measures such as mandatory masks for staff and cloth masks for students from grades 4 to 12, with exceptions for those with medical conditions.
One of the biggest concerns many parents and educators have with this plan is around class sizes. While grades 9 to 12 will see roughly 15 students per class, those in kindergarten to grade 8 will remain the same. Now, many high schools are getting prepared with extra portables to deal with the smaller class sizes. Education Minister Stephen Lecce says all elementary schools across the province will reopen as usual, including all child care centres. Most secondary schools will also reopen under an adjusted model, which will see a mix of in-person and online learning.
As we have previously laid out, groups of 15 students will alternate between attending class in person and online. Secondary schools with lower risk profiles will be able to reopen with a full return to class in person 5 days a week.
The Ottawa Carleton District School Board and the Ottawa Catholic School Board are among 24 Ontario school boards on the designated list for a mix of online and in-class learning for secondary school students. Schools, which typically see small student populations like in Renfrew, will be able to operate as usual. The government said they will continue to monitor public health trends and, when possible, remove certain school boards from the designated list. All school boards will adopt secondary timetabling methods that emphasize cohorting of students as much as possible to limit the number of student-to-student contacts.
We cannot and will not allow students to return to school without the necessary support and resources to enable them to confidently return and feel safe from the start.
An online petition has been started which aims at trying to sway the government's decision from having students return to the classroom in the fall. Now, the Premier is reminding everyone that this, in fact, is not his decision. It's been one that was made by health professionals. He's also reminding parents that they don't need to send their children to school in the fall. Instead, they can opt to keep them at home. Charlie Sinat, WIN News, Ottawa.